Well, here's what I'm working on. Trying to get that axle rebuilt in the skid steer, and I got a mess. This is the one I just took off. This is the one I wanted to rebuild. This one here is the extra axle I got. Usually I have this one rebuilt so I can pull, if I got one go bad, I can just pull it out, put this on in, and I'm good to go. But I figured, well, since I got the downtime and stuff, I'm just going to rebuild this one. Well, I guess I ran it a lot longer than I thought it was with a bad bearing in it. This is junk now. Never had, well, on this one, when I ran the tracks on this skid steer, I ran into this problem a lot. This is the first time I did it on this one. Usually the bearing goes out and the races rub each other and it ain't too bad, but as you can tell, that's got a step in it now. This is all gouged out and wore down. I don't know if you can see it here, but this should be round and got this oblong spot in here. So this housing is toast. So now I got to rebuild my extra one to get it on. I'll have to take my wheel spacer off, which is not, that's one reason why I wanted to rebuild this. I don't have to worry about taking that wheel spacer off and moving around, but that's not the big deal. But this is the problem with going through deep mud all the time, and these tracks. Then this is, well, I've chipped a lot of this away, but this is all mud and dried grease. And there's a seal that goes in here, and then this flange piece is riding up against it. Well, that seal's made to keep grease in. It's not made to keep, and probably water out, but it's not made to keep mud out. And what happens, you go through all this deep mud, whether it's sticky or gets frozen there, and the inner wheel rim just packs full, and then this gets all froze up around it and stuff, or packed around it, so you basically, whatever's released, and mud keeps rolling in there and rolls it around. I mean, it's just like a corkscrew, it just pushes it right through. And like I say, normally I haven't had this much problem with this skid steer, but like as much mud as we've had, as deep as the mud's been, it's just more of an issue this year. So now I got to rebuild, which ain't too bad. And like I say, and it's always this bearing that goes out. There's the same bearing on both sides. These are the inner ones, and usually these ain't too bad, but these are all packed in mud and stuff too. I mean, they're shot. I have rebuilt these with only putting the outer bearing in and reusing the inner one, but there's nothing to reuse on this. Yeah, turd, my wife taught you too many tricks. In the last 2 days, this thing has gotten this brave. Follows everybody around. My wife had him crawling up her leg this morning. Now that's all he wants to do is follow me around and crawl up my leg. But I guess I got to get that housing cleaned up, get all that mud, get that bearing race off there, shine that all up, and get this all back together. So I guess get back at it, so maybe I can get that skid steer running yet tonight. Yeah, I got this all back together. I didn't get much worth of me video rebuilding that axle because I made some bad languages. And then putting the tracks on too. And still wasn't very good language. But yeah, I did. This axle had to have been out for a while because I've actually had to lengthen this back out 2 holes to get it back on. So this wheel was actually cocking this way and riding, I'll be riding up what it all belonged out in that housing. And then this track, like I said, when I drove off of it, like I took these tracks off and I backed off them where they were setting. And so I would have had to pull onto them to put them back on. Well, I did what I said I was going to do. I thought I did before, is I put these on the opposite way. So I backed onto these, see if that made a difference with this clicking noise. And again, that didn't make sense because I actually had to lengthen this side out one hole to get these back on, but nothing changed on this side. But so now, instead of having 3 links that are like here, inner and inner, I have backed one of them off, so there's only 2 in here. But it didn't make any difference. It's still got a click to it. I don't know. I would say it's not as bad. Maybe it was bad because I was in the mud and it was binding things up. But without the tracks on, it's not making any noise. So that's telling me it's probably the tracks need to be rebuilt or something. So that'd be the next project. I'm going to run them this way here now. Like I said, I just have to be careful when backing up, turning to the right. So, but I ran it here. That's another reason why I didn't video it. I stood here, pushed the levers, walked it around, just let it go in a circle. And the track's not catching on nothing. I don't see anything where it's twisting up or binding or anything, so I don't know why it's clicking. Now this time it sounded like it was coming from the back wheel. So I say we're gonna run it again here, and then I'll at some point rebuild the tracks, and then see if it does it then. Figure out one way or the other. If it doesn't, because like I say, I'm pretty sure it's nothing with the axles here right now. So I'm gonna go work on this job. Okay, working for keep everybody else happy. So we'll catch up with you later. Well, I've been playing here loading up some of this manure to take up to my cousins for their garden, their flower pots, whatever they want it for. I hauled 7 loads. So I hauled 7 loads from, probably about 5-6 foot in front of that skid steer. From about here, it tapers up. Pretty much just skid steer track right here around the fall load. That was 7 loads. I say, how this is showing up. I got glare on my face right anyhow. Now right here is about eye level. We're talking about 5, almost 6 foot here, and it goes up that much higher. So this is a good 9-10 foot high on this side. This is the stuff that they want me to bring them. This is all composted down. There ain't as much here as you think there is. I mean, it's only maybe 1.5 to 2 foot layer on here. So I dig and separate some of the other stuff in. But they want the oldest, blackest stuff I can get, and like I say, this stuff is about powder right here, right now. But yeah, I'm good 10 foot from the ground. So I say, this area here is about 7 loads. And this is how much more I got to go. Clear back there, clear over to there. Of course, only half as much on that half over there, but so you can kind of try to figure out the math on this. I don't know what the hell it'll be. My spreader's a New Holland 145, and I believe, or 155. I believe them are 265 bushel spreaders. I don't know how many ton that would be, but there easily has to be 300-400 loads here, easy. But that's all I'm taking there today. I took 7 loads up there. If they need that much for garden stuff, I took them 5 loads probably 4 years ago. And he's been hounding me the last 2 years for some, but he still has some up there. But he also wants it there so he can mix it as he gets, township brings him the dirt from the ditches and stuff, and he'll mix that, and he wants it to set and rot down a little bit more, so it is what it is. But I got enough up there to keep them happy. And once I got these packed up here with this mud, like I say, I'm just skimming the top, I'm not digging down, but I got enough mud. These tracks weren't making any noise, so that's almost telling me now that tracks need to be rebuilt. That's probably the size, the twisting play into them. This mud is sticky enough, like I say, it filled up them crevices, and I think it popped maybe twice. But it wasn't like it has been where it's a constant pop as I'm turning. So that'll be the next thing to look at. And like I say, if we can get stuff around here where I can start hauling this shit, maybe I can get some corn in here yet if everything else goes right. But if not, once I get some of this hay off, I'll be top dressing hayfield, so maybe I can get a good second and third cutting. But I guess that's it for here. I'm heading home.